So when we last stopped, now we need to drop our column down underneath here. So basically, figuring out what that column offset is pretty easy. We just need to know from the level it's at right now down to the base, which you probably could do yourself easily. You just click here and come down to here and see that that's 3'2", right? So now what we know, we go to our 3D view and we can say, we can click on one of these and go select all instances in entire project, right? And there they all are. And now we can say that top offset is -3'2", right? And we hit apply. All right. And now we can go down to the, sorry, that section view. And now that column's down below where it needs to be. Now we don't have to worry about that tiny little gap here. You know, you can play with that all day and, you know, sometimes get it to work and see how it goes past. Sitting there is just fine. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go to the first floor, or I'm sorry, the precast parapet level. And what we can do is um, let's move this one here. Well, let's do a couple of things first. Let's stretch this right to that wall right there. And then we're going to stretch this one to here. All right. So we've got that there and that there. And then we're going to have to work with these two generic walls in between. We'll get rid of those. Well, we won't get rid of them. We'll convert them to what they need to be in good time. But now what we need to do is to stretch this all the way, right? Even though it's not going to be this many of them, I'm going to stretch it all the way down to here right now, right? So this, essentially, we're going to have pieces of this beam go across the front of our building, but it'll be 1, 2, 3 separate parts. The challenge is though, when we go back to this view, since we don't necessarily want to have columns here, this portion of it is going to span. Now, we wouldn't have a beam that spanned that full length like that, people, just so you're aware of that. But we also don't want to have a column on this other side of the wall. So what we're going to do is split this thing into 3 parts. What do I mean? Well, if I go to Fine and I go to Wireframe, you see I can see my column below. I'm going to go ahead and type in SL on the keyboard, and I am going to try and split this thing here, just there real quick. All right. Now, oh, hold on a second. Let me go back. I am going to, let's split this thing. Let's try and split this thing, this element. All right, split element. I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to. I should be able to just split it. Let's see. Let's try one more time. SL on the keyboard. There we go. Seems like when I split it, I lose the whole thing. Oh, no, there's the other part right there. It's just real tiny. So I'm going to stretch that part out some, right? And I know I'm going to put one there toward the center, right? And then pull the other part in there as well. All right. So I'm not quite sure why this thing has broke apart here like this, but if we look at it in 3D, oh, that's why. There we go. One end got dropped down. So let's adjust it, and hopefully you won't make that same error I made. There we go. Now it's sitting up like it's supposed to. So now I can see it a little better, and I can pull one part to, oh, it did it again. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but I just want you to realize that you would have two separate beams here. That beam wouldn't continue through that wall. So then this second one, I can stretch the end of that. You can see it's from here. I can drop that to there, but then I need to raise that up to 1 foot. All right. So now we have that second one in here. So we have one here, and they're kind of both taking up half of that beam. So I'm just going to copy the last one. You'll be able to see me copy that last one. All right, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm just going to free copy that right now. And I'll stretch it back to where it needs to be momentarily. So I'm going to move this to the middle. All right. Stretch it down a little. There we go. All right. There we go. And then this end portion out here, I got to stretch that back, right? That's way too long. Now I could also do this by entering numbers too, but I'm not going to worry too much about it right now. Oh, boy, that's really getting out of sorts on me. Let me try that one more time. I think what it's doing when I snap to it, and I shouldn't snap to it, when I snap to that, it's dropping it down to that level of 3'2", and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to pull it to the wall right there. All right. And so now when I go back and look in 3D, I should have, looks like I had one of my other columns stretching a lot further than it should have. So I wasn't quite sure why I was having that problem. Now I see why I was having that problem. So you might run into some of the same trouble, but you can see how you just have to keep your offsets proper. You can't let it drop down that 3'2". So there's one section of that beam, there's a second section, and a third section of that beam. Okay, so we need 3 sections of that for that to be realistic in what's happening. And this wall would obviously peel back some, and we'll adjust that as we have to. But so I think we're in the right place now as far as that's concerned. Now when I go back to that precast parapet level, you can see I've got my my beam here, my double T, but I need to get these also on the other side, and that's where the challenge is really going to be for us, getting them to the other side. So what I want to do is click once, twice, a third time, and then I'm just going to draw mirror draw axis from one of these walls right here. Let me try that one more time. Mirror draw axis. Okay, and then I'm going to move these things because they're too far, and then I'll zoom in a little closer and I'll move them back against that wall right there. And then as I need to, I can kind of stretch the end of these there, and I can see I've got 1, 2, 3 of them, and they all look like they came over pretty well. So now the last thing I can do is I can take this and I'm going to move this one up to that edge of the wall right there, and then I'm just going to copy this down as I need to, from that midpoint to that midpoint, and I'm going to go copy multiple. And obviously at the end I'll probably have one that's a little left over because of the size. I could, and what I may end up doing is making these so that, oh, it looks like that might just fit. I might just have to adjust one of these things. Yeah, I've got a couple more I need to do. Let's see. Let's copy that. Okay, so I've only got this little bit of a piece out here. That difference is what? That difference is about not quite 2 feet. So between this video and the next video, I might be able to figure out a little bit of a way to make it fit all the way. So I'll let you guys kind of get caught up to me, and then I'll see if I can figure out what the adjustment we need to make to this is going to be so that it's just over 8 feet. It looks like we have, if I click on it and I say select all instances visible in view, right? I've got 9 of them. So if I can split that 2 feet between 9, I may be able to make that wide enough to cover that whole area. So let me check on that, and then I'll get back to you on that in the next video, okay?